Welcome to A Healthier, Happier You, the people working to make it happen. I'm Evan J. Cholfin from Luxhammer, where we help the brands that help you live healthier. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Barb Bigalke, Executive Director and founder of the Center for Suicide Awareness. Barb is a Wisconsin Heroes Award recipient and has been instrumental in creating Hopeline, a groundbreaking text-based support service that's supported hundreds of lives. Barb, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Evan. It's an honor to be with you.
So, what inspired you to found the Center for Suicide Awareness?
That is a great question. I think the first thing that people assume is, oh, she's had a loss in her own personal life. And actually, the catalyst for why I started the center was when I was working for the Department of Justice. I had to be one of those people that went with law enforcement to give those awful words of, I'm sorry you lost somebody, death notification. I realized something very early on that when we were knocking on those doors to say that a loved one has passed away, if they died by the icy roads, right? I live in Wisconsin. There's icy roads, snowstorms, or if they just passed away. I saw people grieve, and I saw people also be supported. Their neighbors brought over a hot dish. Their neighbors brought over, hey, how can we help you? What can we do? Can we, wash the dishes? Whatever you need, we'll do it for you. But then when we were doing those death notifications and the method of death was suicide, it was a totally different reaction. You didn't see people bringing over those hot dishes. You didn't see people flood over and say, hey, we'll wash dishes, we'll wash clothes, we'll wash the kids. We saw almost like this shame where curtains would be drawn, whispers would happen, where it was like, do you know how they died? You heard, right? And it bothered me that just the type of death literally defined how people could be surrounded by love, compassion, and care. And it was so evident that suicide had such a stigma to it that people couldn't even grieve in a healthy way. So my catalyst really was, I just want to have this safe place that people can be wrapped up in love to say, this hurt. My loved one's gone. And so really the catalyst was to just have a safe place where people could grieve because they lost somebody to suicide.
So, maybe you could tell us more about Hopeline.
Hopeline I created in 2014. So Hopeline is an emotional support text line. So it's not a suicide line. It truly is way before you're thinking of suicide. It's, I've had a bad day. Does anyone care? Someone said really cruel things to me and it hurt. I am going through so many struggles and I just need to know that it's going to be okay. So it really is that warm, fuzzy blanket in emotional world to say, we gotcha. We can get through this. And so in 2014, I literally was like, okay, what's happening before a lot of these suicides? And I really looked at our youth because our youth, still suicide is the second leading cause of death amongst our young kiddos. I really looked back and sat down and sort of went backwards. And there was something in common prior to a suicide that they were texting. They were texting their friends, right? Texting is a communication skill. A lot of people don't realize it, but it is. I mean, text any 15-year-old, they'll answer. Call them, they won't. So I said, wow, look at, they were texting. They were texting. Oh my gosh, this relationship just broke up and I'm devastated. They were texting. Oh my God, I flunked my geometry test. My parents are going to ground me. I'm never going to be able to get out. Oh my gosh, I just hurt my knee and I'm on the football team. And if I can't play football, I'm not anybody. But here's the thing. They were texting their peers. They were texting the other 15-year-olds that were like, yeah, you know what? I didn't like your partner anyway. So what? You can't play football. You're a rock star at Wesley. So what? No one likes your geometry teacher. Who cares? They weren't doing it because they weren't good friends. They were doing it because they didn't have the skill set to say, this is really hurting. These guys are talking about something that really could be devastating to them. And it might be to the point of suicide. They didn't have the tools in the toolbox. I was like, wow, what if they were texting somebody that was trained trained in understanding those pains, hurts, and listening, but also trained to know, wait, this is critical. They are thinking of suicide. And what do we do about it? So I literally started cold calling and cold called California. California was one of the leaders, you're from your state, one of the leaders of having a emotional support text line, and literally cold called. I'm like, hey, this is Barb from Wisconsin. How are you? Tell me what you did. How'd you do it? What was the good? What was the bad? What were your challenges? And I was, to this day, I am so grateful for them not only picking up the phone, but for also mentoring and saying, these are some of the hurdles. These are some of the successes. This is how you do it. This is where you go for the software and so forth. And they were really, like I said, the mentor of how to do the Hopeline. When I brought it to my state, it was not met with a lot of warmth. It was met with a lot of rolling eyes, raised eyebrows. But you got to remember, this was in 2014. Texting, yeah, it was there, but texting for emotional support, it was out of the box. So I certainly don't blame that. There was a lack of understanding of what it could do, but I believed it could save lives. I can tell you that I'm thankful for those adversities, because the more rolled eyes I got, the more I was like, dang it, we're going to do this. And so we carried on. And the first Hopeline opened in October of 2014. I had 9 responders trained in crisis, knowing the warning signs. They were mandatory reporters. They still are. 9 people. And we're from Wisconsin, right? We get really, really cold here. At that time, our office was in a old schoolhouse. I'm talking old, like 1800 olds. And it was haunted, of course, 100%. I always had the lockers like opening and closing all by itself. But here's the thing, it was a boiler heat. The heat would go off at 5 o'clock. The Hope Light first started, we were open very minimal, 3 o'clock to 9 p.m. That was it. Right? Just trying to get those kiddos after school. Well, it was great until the temperature started to drop. And we're like, it's freezing in this school. And how are we going to do this? I think back and man, kudos to those first responders, because literally they were dressed in their winter coats, scarves, had mittens on, would take them off so that they could type their response, had Kleenex by them. We had a space heater going, but because it was such an old building, if they wanted to like put some like hot tea in the microwave, you had to unplug the space heater so you could plug in the microwave, because if you did both, it blew the fuses of this old school. Every single barrier you could possibly think of, it was there. It was there, including our cold winters. But it prevailed. Now we look at that we're in 2025, and all the thousands of texts that we've gotten, all the amazing results and successes, people texting back and saying, thank you. That's exactly what I needed. People saying, thank you. You saved my life. I mean, that's the biggest reward I think you could ever have in your lifetime. So yeah, that's what started the Hopeline.
Oh, that's amazing. And I can only imagine, receiving that text that, thank you for saving my life. That truly is the best text that you could receive. That's fantastic. I'm curious how you're developing your responders to support that mission.
We continued on. We realized 9 o'clock, people don't end crisis, right? We knew we had to expand. We knew we had to expand not only the hours, but how many responders we had. So with that, we kept on recruiting. We really capitalized on some wonderful colleges that we have that are always looking for internship hours, continually training, continually keeping up, like sex trafficking and all the things that come with that. How to train people on all the different things that are going on. Um, Continually adding hours, adding responders to it, adding training to it. Today it's 2,600 trained crisis responders, 24/7.
That's amazing. All in that same place with the
Oh heck
boiler.
no, no, no. I would never, ever, ever have that kind of thing. I think the beauty of it is it's remote. You can be stationed in the comfort of your home and be a responder. And the training that's provided is top rate. They're really trained in doing your own work. How can you be your best, healthiest self? Unpacking your own biases, unpacking your own things that you might not be comfortable with. We want to make sure that if somebody's texting in, that you're meeting somebody not only with compassion and training, but also with no judgment. Our society is so judgmental. The last thing you want is when you're texting into somebody to be like, well, you should do this, or I think this. No, we want it to be, how can we lift you up? How can we support you? How can we wrap you up in that fuzzy blanket when it's just feeling really icky outside?
Yeah, absolutely. So, changing topics a little bit, what's been your biggest challenge in expanding mental health support services this year?
This year, I have to say it's the political climate. And I'm not saying sides or anything. I'm just saying, for one, there's a huge stigma around mental health. I am so grateful, Evan, for you to say, let's break that stigma, because these podcasts, that's how you break stigma, where you have open conversations about it. So the stigma's there. And I think the more awareness and the more community action steps that you can take to say, hey, we're not going to suffer in silence. Um, this year, it definitely has been a challenging year. We see so much more fear coming onto our line, fear of the unknown, fear of, are we in a recession? Are we going to crash? What's going on? It's taken a toll of going from, hey, we broke up a relationship, or gee, I didn't do very well on my test, to a very encompassing fear and anxiety being some of our top issues. That's something that we really take seriously. How do we hunt for the good? Because there's still good in the world. I think that's the hardest thing, is when people are like, there isn't anything good. There are. Maybe you just have to hunt for it a little deeper. Funding is always an issue. We've seen programs cut left and right. We don't take federal funding. So, knock on wood, we never did take federal funding. So, we have not been cut because we're self support. We're a 501c. We're a nonprofit. We're self sufficient. So, it's those great grants, it's those donation. And I think that's what's so cool is, like, if somebody says to me, are you sure that, if I send $20, that $20 is sustaining and keeping Hopeline sustainable and moving forward? We're changing the demographics of what people are texting in about. That's a challenge. It's a challenge when you hear people say, well, it seems like every day politically something's happening, something's getting cut, something's getting defunded. I don't know if I'm safe. We see that a lot in our population of that is LGBTQIA, saying, do I matter? It seems like I don't matter anymore to people. So changing how, not only how much more we can put in to saying, let's not look at all the bad, let's look at the good. That's been a challenge.
Yeah, I can only imagine. What aspects of your programs need additional support or resources?
We're always bringing on new people, just the general cost of what it is. It's a double edged sword. People will say, that's great that you have this resource. Hey, can I get 1,000 rack cards? Because we have rack cards that tell us how to text in, what you can text in about, like an instruction sheet. Yep, we can send 100 out. Well, those 100 rack cards do cost money. When I talk about like that $20 donation, hey, that $20 donation puts 100 rack cards in a faith-based, a school, a organization, corporate America. That those donations, I think people don't realize they do go to the ground level. This morning, I just sent out 1,000 rack cards to a mental health clinic because they're like, people are picking them up left and right because people are struggling more and more. Okay, we'll get them out to you.
What would you say are the main barriers to reaching more people who need help?
We're not this huge organization. When people sit there, they're like, oh, do you have a huge no, we don't have a ton of volunteers. There's 3 of us on staff. The helping hands of volunteers, I can't thank them enough. They're the ones that do a mailing or help us with an event or a fundraiser. Some of those barriers are getting people to say, hey, can you help out? Can you help and volunteer time? That's a challenge as well.
What would you say makes it challenging to raise awareness about your 24/7 crisis support services?
Getting the word out. It's interesting that a lot of times people think that it's more of a suicide line. Like I can only text it when if I'm suicidal. So getting the educational component out of no, this is way before you're thinking of suicide. If you are thinking of suicide, we'll definitely get help. But having the ability to just spread the word, we definitely look at social media and say, how can we get out there? We're constantly putting something out there on social media. That's also where we look for community as well. Put a social post up there. Do an event that brings awareness. We always talk about with video gamers. Oh my gosh, put Hopeline as a resource in your chat room or your Discord channel. Making sure that people have that resource, even if they don't use it, they might need it for a friend. Or who knows, they might need it for themselves someday. The challenges are just the stigma, because people are like, oh, I don't need that. Oh, it's a suicide line. And relying on people to spread the word. We're not a big corporation that has $1 million marketing budget. It goes so far with us doing the marketing portion of it.
Yeah, that's tough with the misconceptions and relying on word of mouth to spread the word. What are your main objectives for expanding Hopeline's reach this year?
This year, we're really working hard on two things. Social media, really pushing it out on social media, all different platforms. We are in the process of designing a brand new website. And so pushing it out, looking at other places to pop those keywords in. We opened up an Etsy shop this year where people can support us through. Oh my gosh, we have everything from tote bags to t-shirts to our coping critters, which is a really cool line. We have about 58 uh, they're animals doing a coping skills. We have a giraffe doing yoga. We have a sloth doing aromatherapy. We have a panda that's baking, and they're called our coping critters. So getting that word out that, hey, this is the way you can support us as well as supporting mental health. So that's one huge initiative. And then our second one is even diving farther into the gaming world. We were just out in Boston at PAX East and, really reaching out. We gave hundreds of thousands of Hopeline resources out on the East Coast. It was cool to see someone give a snapshot of, they were in a bar in New York City and there it was, the Hopeline was sitting on there. Getting into that gaming space where everyone is a gamer seems like, and everyone is very much scattered across the United States, doing more training for people that have their own like YouTube channels, podcasts, saying, hey, can you just put Hopeline in your stream? Can you put Hopeline on your banner? That's our two big initiatives this year, is really pushing it out that way.
That's great. And how are you currently reaching potential donors?
Uh, I think one of our saddest things is when we get a donation and it says in loving memory. I know that sounds interesting because you're sort of going, but yet you're getting a donation. Yeah, but I'd rather have a donation when they're alive and that we know that we prevented that suicide. But yes, we do get donations in loving memory of a loved one that's died by suicide. As far as donations, we're constantly doing events. We'll be doing a dart tournament coming up in a couple weeks. We've done walks. We're in so many different conferences and we're putting on a booth where we're spreading that awareness. We're always looking for innovative ideas of how to raise funds. It's definitely challenging right now. We're in a recession. The $20 that people used to give is like, I need that $20 to fill up my car. So those are all initiatives. And I think the Etsy store was one of the initiatives to try to really reach out to our donors and ask for more donations.
What trends and mental health support give you hope?
We go into the schools a lot. And Evan, people always are like, what are you doing? How can you even be in those schools? Their kids are so loud. They got their laundry list of why I shouldn't be in the schools. But I love that our youth are really taking and lead and action steps in breaking the stigma. It's it is when you go into schools and they have posters that are like, I talk about mental health. Mental health is important. When they say, you know what, today I'm having a lot of anxiety, it's like, yes, that's what you want. You want to have that normalization that you can talk about that without being like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Are you weak? Can't you handle things? Because, if we walked around and all of a sudden you said, oh God, my shoulder really hurts. I slept on it wrong. People would be like, oh, are you okay? Oh, maybe you should put some icy hot or something like that on it. Mental health is invisible. So having those conversations when people come up and say, I'm having a really down day, and that you're breaking your stigma. You're breaking your stigma. I love when I hear the youth talking about they're going to be dang about living in a generation where you don't talk about it. We have so many stories when we go into schools and the youth will be like, my grandpa told me, like, he would just be like, no, boys don't cry. He goes, I I don't believe that, Barb. I'm like, good, good, because boys should cry. And it's good that you have feelings and it's good that you talk about your emotions. Good for you. Be like that. So that trend always brings a smile to my face that they're recognizing that just doesn't work and they're breaking that cycle.
That's great. So, if we have this conversation again in 12 months, what achievements would you be most proud of?
In 12 months, I hope that people are in that Etsy store and they're displaying shirts that say, I talk about mental health, that they're utilizing those coping skills when tough times hit you. We always say if you have one stressor, I want two coping skills. So having that message of hope, 12 months of accomplishments, I would love to see that we have more educational topics like this. And I'm not just saying this because I'm on the podcast heaven. I believe it. The more conversations we can have like this, that someone's going to be sitting here listening to this and say, I am not alone. Like other people struggle. Because I think the hardest part about mental health is when we get into those dark times, we believe we're the only one that's going through those times. I don't think we do a real good job of showing vulnerability in our society, which I would love to see more of. I would love to see somebody say, the kid that says, I'm not going to be like my grandpa. I'm going to cry when I'm having a cry day. Sharing that everybody has bad days, that's vulnerability. I always say we should never struggle alone, and I believe that. But when you are struggling, you really do feel like you're on an island and you're the only one that's struggling. And let's face it, social media sure makes you believe that everybody has a perfect life, right? You look on people's social media, you go to their Instagram, and it's like, oh my God, look at how many friends they have. And oh my gosh, look, they look so happy. And you got filters to make every single tiny line that's on your face disappear. So when you're not feeling good and you go out on social media and you see everybody looking good, in quotes, you even feel more lonely. Like, I don't look like that. I don't have that many friends. So, accomplishments, I hope that somebody that's listening to this goes, I'm not alone and I need to talk to somebody and I'm not weak, I'm strong. I always say the people that talk about mental health, the people that come up and say, I'm really struggling, those are the most courageous and strong people out there.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. Well, thank you so much. That's it for today's episode of A Healthier, Happier You, the people working to make it happen. A huge thank you to Barb for sharing her insights and the life saving work that the Center for Suicide Awareness is doing. Remember, if you or someone you know needs support, text Hopeline to 741-741. Help is available 24/7. If you found this conversation valuable, please subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit. Until next time, keep spreading hope and awareness.